Removing ourselves completely from the gold standard was not really about gold at all, believe it or not. There is a deeper problem that we're going to be talking about in this video, but gold is going to play a very important role in how we can protect ourselves. Let's get into it as we explore. And here we have the Federal Reserve note, the currency that we use today. Its existence is merely by government decree. That's known as Fiat. But I'm going to be referencing here as a piece here from the Daily Economy that tells us about the lesson of what happened on August 15th, 1971. And that lesson was not about gold itself. But we're going to take a look at some gold here. Enough with the fiat dollar. Let's see here, as you look at this, but what President Nixon abandoned the gold standard. And there's a deeper problem, was a monetary system dependent on political judgment. That's right, not the judgment of real sound economics and just supply and demand. We know that on August 15th, 1971, Richard Nixon interrupted Sunday night television to announce the new economic policy. With the Vietnam War winding down, Nixon argued the economies required federal action to deliver what he called a new prosperity without war. Nixon declared that night, "We must create more and better jobs. We must stop the rise of the cost of living. We must protect the dollar from the attacks of international money speculators." His policy froze wages and prices for 90 days and thawed a restraint on Washington's management of money by suspending gold convertibility for foreign governments and central banks. One policy froze the prices of Americans could charge one another. This froze the prices that Americans could charge. The other released the government from the rule that forced it to redeem its monetary promises. Both followed the same instinct. When the signal becomes inconvenient, suppress it and escape the discipline it imposes. Nixon called the suspension temporary. Now, we know now that it was not. In fact, one thing that we know is permanent is gold. My friends at Some of the Metals are there. If you want to buy gold, they have competitive prices, excellent customer service. You earn points for every purchase that you make. So check them out in the link in the description below. And look at the link below for the announcement for their new show that is coming from Whatnot on September 3rd through the 5th. We're going to be 864 giveaways, so check that out as well. So Friedrich Hayek had named the vulnerability 28 years before Nixon acted. Writing in 1943 in an essay later collected in Individualism and Economic Order, he granted that the gold standard as we knew it undoubtedly had some grave defects. Gold arrived too slowly to track real demand for money, producing deflation before new supply arrived in excess once it did. But the defects were not the point. Gold gave the world an international currency answerable to no single government, a monetary policy that was largely automatic and therefore predictable, and money supply adjustments that generally moved in the right direction. Hayek's answer was not managerial discretion, but a better rule, a currency anchored to a broad basket of commodities rather than one metal, governed automatically and explicitly, not a license to freeze any individual prices along the way. 17 years later, in December 1960, economist Robert Triffin told the Joint Economic Committee that the system carried the seeds of its own collapse. The world needed dollars abroad, pushed out by military spending, foreign aid, and capital outflows. Every dollar that left made it less plausible that the United States could redeem them all in gold at $35 an ounce. And that $35 an ounce was essentially pulling the wool over the eyes of those who were forced to turn in their gold by the government under Executive Order 6102 at $20.67 an ounce. So that's the difference there. So later that decade, the dominoes began to fall. The London Gold Pool, a coalition of central banks trying to defend that price through coordinated selling, collapsed in 1968. Across the English Channel, France spent the back half of the decade converting its dollar holdings into gold. at one point sending a warship to New York to collect the gold. American gold reserves peaked in 1949 at 21,708 metric tons. Let me repeat that. That's a pretty alarming number when you think about it. I knew it was 20,000, but it was 21,708 metric tons. That August night when Nixon spoke, they stood at 9,069, a fall of 58%. Why? Well, because their governments were going and collecting their gold. Treasury Secretary John Connally had been arguing for months that the old policy of benign neglect towards the dollar slide had run its course, and Nixon agreed. Meeting with Nixon 2 weeks before the announcement, Connally predicted, "We may never go back to it. I suspect we never will." Nixon called the move a defense of the dollar and an attack on the speculators. It was, in function if not in name, the opposite, a default, dressed in the language of a temporary suspension. Bretton Woods ended in all but name by 1973, and the dollar has floated on nothing but promises ever since. What replaced the rule was the discretion of whoever held the job next. By the fall of 1971, with an election about a year out, Nixon was leaning on Arthur Burns, his own appointee to chair the Federal Reserve, to keep the money loose. Burns obliged. Tapes declassified decades later show a Fed chairman reporting rate cuts to the president like a subordinate delivering good news, and a money supply that grew faster in 1972 than in either of the two preceding years. Nixon won in a landslide. The country spent the rest of the decade paying for it in double-digit inflation and stagflation. The real lesson of 1971 was never about the gold. It was about what happens when the person guarding the currency answers to the person spending it. That's right. Now we are upon the same test, 55 years later. Since 1971, the Fed's independence has been questioned many times. Donald Trump had no gold window to close, so he went after the guard instead, a guard he had appointed himself in his first term. Jerome Powell spent most of 2025 as the public target of a president demanding lower interest rates. When Powell refused to bend, a Justice Department criminal investigation opened into cost overruns at the Fed's building renovation. Trump also moved against the board itself. He attempted to fire Governor Lisa Cook in August 2025, the first such attempt in the Fed's 111-year history. In a video statement, Powell warned the pressure the Fed was under. He stated the threat of criminal charges as a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based off of our best assessment of what will serve the public rather than following the preferences of the president. The department closed the investigation in April 2026, handing what remained of the Fed's own inspector general. 2 months later, the Supreme Court blocked Trump's first attempt to fire Lisa Cook by a single vote. The same day, it affirmed Trump's firing of an FTC commissioner. Powell's term as chair ended in May, but for the first time since 1948, the former chair stayed on with the board as an ordinary governor. His replacement, Kevin Warsh, walked into the job promising independence and a hard line on inflation. He arrived with his own ties to the White House. His father-in-law, Ronald Lauder, had been one of Trump's closest friends since Wharton. He's credited with reigniting the Greenland debate and gave $5 million to a pro-Trump super PAC. But Warsh held the line. 2 meetings in, he has held rates at the 3.5% to 3.75%, where it remains today, against the president who was pushing for cuts. 3 regional presidents they argued that we needed a hike in an attempt to temper inflation sooner. A year's own monetary rules report found 11 of 12 standard rules pointing to higher than where Warsh was held. The original Taylor rule prescribed the highest rate in the 5.91%. Warsh is refusing the president's cuts and still sitting more than 2 points below what that rule would require. Resisting pressure is not the same as following the rule. But Burns did not cave in the first 2 meetings either. He caved in year 2 once the approaching the 1972 election made Nixon want to lose money badly enough to ask for it outright. That incentive is forming again on a shorter clock. Trump is not on the ballot in November, but his majority is. And since 1934, as the president's party has lost an average 28 House seats during the midterms, a soft economy heading into them is exactly the condition that makes a president want lower rates. That is the institutional danger Hayek saw. His objection to discretion was not about every manager would use it badly. It was that a system governed by judgment leaves the currency exposed to a president who wants something from it. Hayek's point was that it was the currency should not have to depend on it either. Well, and the thing is it really is about fiscal discipline in the long run, and this is sort of a kind of a hit job on Trump to some degree, rather than the focus is about what Trump lacks in some ways, but others, including Jerome Powell, who was all about quantitative easing all the way through the first Trump administration and continuing it, and in the Biden administration, even though rates came back down, we didn't take in, and money supply has started to increase under Powell's rule. These Fed chairs, essentially they're just kind of one of 12 votes, but they do set kind of the tone for what the Fed is going to do. But the Fed really should not even exist at all. And so everybody's just kind of playing musical chairs. All the while, the dollar is kind of falling under its own weight, in a sense. And that is really the lesson here. It is about discipline. And, even if we had a gold standard in place, it can be corrupted. Anything that humans are involved in can be corrupted. But the metal itself is incorruptible. And that is the lesson here. It's about mankind, no matter what kind of agenda, what political party, what kind of empire, what kind of monarchy you've got, or what have you. It all falls under the rules of sound money in the end. And it can last hundreds of years. The dollar has been around for a long time in various different, forms. And right now we're in the Fiat version of it. That really is, in a sense, in a spiral. We're in a debt spiral right now that is continuing and will continue until it won't. What is going to be the only thing left standing through all of this? It is gold. Gold is the ultimate arbiter. And so it doesn't matter who is president, who is Fed chair, and what have you. Gold is the ultimate form of wealth protection. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.